Good morning. Today we will learn about Mr. Somerville's classroom format. As you can see, we have a bunch of activities planned in class, starting from a warm-up down to a class discussion to group work, all the way down to our exit slip wrap-up discussions. Most of my classes are 55 minutes, but for those that I have only 50 minutes, I have to fudge a little bit from each of the areas to fit that in my classroom. Just wanted to walk you through the Symbaloo site that I use in class and explain to you how it's done. After the kids do a dice warm-up game, usually about basic facts or something we've already done, they go into a class question, which is located right here on this tile. This has the information for the site that they need to click into. So after clicking on that tile, they have the login information, which they have bookmarked on their computer, so they go directly there after doing the dice game. And what they see when they get to that site is a question that I loaded in there, and they solve it and pick their answer. What they don't see is how I put it in there, and I can show you that right now. This is a pretty good site. It's exittick.com. It takes a look at all the questions I've done, how the class is done on them, and what I have set up for the next week. You can go into there, and as soon as the class takes the question, I know instantly who got it right, who got it wrong, class percentage, etc., just by looking into this view of the question. Once they've answered that question, which is a review question of what we did the week before and relates to the exit slip question that they have to fill out also, they'll go into this game that they'll play for a little bit until everyone is finished with the question, so we can start the lesson for the week. This week's game was Pac-Man doing multiplying and dividing. So each week it's a different game. Once everyone has completed the class question, we'll move on to the math mission for the week, which I ask kids to send me music that I would use in the video, and I use that to get their attention during class so we can discuss whatever we need to get done. So clicking into this tile, you would come to something that looks like this. And then I would click on this beginning of class as it appears on the smartboard, and then we would start. Hello, and welcome back from your weekend. This week's mission, 1-6, multiplying and dividing real numbers. Your mission objective. We will learn to find products and quotients of real numbers. You need to go to your Symbaloo site for more information. In that video, I would go over what their weekly mission was, what we're going to work on. Just to give an example, what's in the tiles, they would choose what tiles they would go into and help them solve the questions located in the pencil tiles. So they click on this tile here, they'll get a picture of a question or information that they need to write down. This is taken from their book that they're using, so their book is not needed. Everything is online on this site. And They need to write down the main facts, the equations, the important things on the tiles that are there. And this information will help them solve the questions later on in the pencil tiles. And whatever they don't get done, they need to take it home for homework, kind of flip it back to them that they have to be caught up with their group and their members in class. So when they get done with all the information in the tiles, they go ahead and go into these pencil tiles, and there's questions there that they need to answer, directions on which ones they need to do, 1 through 4. Usually I let them choose which questions they want to do, and they do those questions in their group. So a question tile may look like this, and when I tell them to choose, they need to choose sometimes 1 or 2 from each section. So each group is going to do something different, their choice, and then I'll go over those questions during class at the end of the week as needed. During the class period, I'll go over the information that is on the tiles and make sure they understand it, question them back and forth, to see if they understand what is written there and what they wrote down. And whatever they missed from writing it down, I'll go over it with them, and they can add what they don't have that I discussed in class. They have a choice to go into this brown tile. This is a video, not from me, but from somebody else explaining what we're covering in class. If they click on that tile, this tile is a video.
When determining the sign of a product or quotient, we first need to look at a simple situation. So let's look at a situation where we're only multiplying or dividing 2 numbers.
So this video takes them through what we're talking about. Instead of my voice, they're listening to somebody else's view on how to do it. And then I have a tile here with math vocab that they can click into and go over information from that chapter. So in this section, here are all the words that they may come across and may need to know what they mean. You may be asking yourself, how do they keep track of this? Where do they put the information? What do they do? Well, they go into this mission form, and it outlines what needs to get done and where to put it. So on that tile, this form has their name, the mission number, the objective, what they're working on, etc., down to the questions they need to do. How does this relate to the real world? And some other questions down there. This red tile here is part of the mission form question. How does math relate to the real world? When they click on this tile, they'll see how it does. After clicking on a couple sites, a couple buttons, they'll come to a career and application link. They click into there, and they have different jobs that relate to the subject we're talking about for that week. They just write a little summary of what that is, and then we'll go back and take a look after a few weeks later on which ones they would be interested in looking into more. I also have an exit slip tile that they click into and answer certain questions on certain days. They either write them down on paper or they send it to me in an email or a link, just like their mission form. They can write it down on paper or send it to me in a file. Here's an example, or here's what my exit slip looks like. On Monday, I have them do the first 3 questions. What we learned last week, which is related to the class question in the beginning. What we will learn this week, in their own words, we will learn. Number 3, what did we learn today? We're going to learn about a lot for the week, but what did they actually go into? What tiles, what information they write down? Then on Tuesday, I have them do questions 3 and 4. 4 is kind of the one I tell them is very important because that tells me how I'm going to change my class up for them the next day, depending on if they're all good with everything, to yellow, a little confused about one thing, or red, really confused. This is something they write down on a paper or send me an email. And then on Thursday, I have them do a home assignment that they need to go home and show someone at home they know how to do a certain problem, and then the parent signs off on it. They also have this mission form checkoff list, which throughout the period we are going around looking at what problems they wrote down, checking off which ones they did to make sure they have it complete, what pencil tiles they went into, reminding them that they have to do the real world job application. We check that off, and then we sign off on the parent signature sheet. So they have this with them every day, and they keep track of it weekly on what they're doing. So we just sign off it and give it back to them, so they have a record and a reminder of what they need to get done by Wednesday. The other thing that I have them keep track of is their overall grade that they have in class. So every time we take a quiz, I just have them keep track of the quiz and what day we took it on, and then their overall grade. So they know if they missed a quiz, what their score was. If they want to retake a quiz, they need to make up a quiz. So they keep record of this. Each week we do it, we take a quiz, and then they write down what their overall grade is. And then every 2 to 3 weeks, I have them bring it home and have the parents sign off on the sheet, seeing that they saw their grade, and they turn it back in for a homework assignment grade. So that's pretty much how I use a Symbaloo site. Some other things I do in class. As you can tell, there's each tab for everything that I've been doing this year and will be doing. And it's a nice site that uses both of my classes, depending on what I'm doing. So if you have any questions, let me know. And thanks for listening to this.